Okay, this is going to be a tutorial on exporting your Premiere Pro edited project and soundtracks over to be able to be used in Pro Tools. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is you want to have some ways to be able to check your sync when you get over to Pro Tools. So I've added what's called Universal Leader with a 2-pop. And I'm just going to show this to you right now. So you see that at the point that the 2 appears, you get a very quick pop of sound, and that's called a 2-pop. So I've also added a tiny little bars and tone clip at the end. So that's another way to check the sync at the end of the program, is that I've added bars and a very short bars and tone clip so that I can check sync when I'm over in Pro Tools. So the question is, how do you do this? So I've actually shortened this hospital scene so that we can take this over to Pro Tools and it won't take forever. So here's the black leader that I have before my project starts, and I'll just play a little bit of that, and then we fade in, and there's the hospital, okay? So the other thing that I've done is I've changed the names on the audio tracks to be DX1, DX2 for dialogue tracks. I've got a couple of effects tracks, and I've got an ambient track. And I'm hoping that the names of these tracks will come over with us when we open this in Pro Tools. Okay, so to get the Universal Leader, you go to New, Universal Counting Leader, and it should pop up with the settings that you'll need for the project you're working in. So you can just hit OK. You can change the look of the countdown leader, but we're essentially using it for the 2-pop, so I'm just going to say OK, and you'll see it appears over here in your project panel. You can just bring it up there. You don't have to take the whole thing, so I can just get to this point and say in, and then I'm going to insert it in my project so that I have a 2-pop. Okay, now at the end of my project, and again I've just edited this so that it's part of the project because I want to be able to take it into Pro Tools, and we'll just work with a little bit of it. So I'm going to just actually shorten this last audio clip here, bring it in a little bit so that we're essentially at the end of the project. And we're going to add that bars and tone frames to check our sync at the end. So we're going to go to HD bars and tone. Again, it's set up pretty much the way your project is. I'm going to hit OK, and here's your bars and tone. You only need a very little, so I'm going to put an in point, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put an out point, and now I'm going to bring that over to my and you'll see that right there. Yeah, so I'm going to bring that over to the end of my project, and now I have it the way that I want it, and I'm going to show you how to export in order to work with this in Pro Tools. So you're going to do 2 different exports. You're first going to export the entire film as a QuickTime, so I'm just going to highlight everything. I'm going to say export. I'm going to go media. It's going to ask me, is this everything that I want to take out? Am I taking both video and audio? And yes, you are. You're making a reference file that's going to help you when you get over to Pro Tools. So you would set everything up the way that you want it, make sure you know where you're saving it, and then you would click export. I'm going to cancel this right now because I've already exported this to save a little bit of time, because I figure everybody's exported some QuickTime movies before. So we're going to cancel that. And now we're going to, I'm going to unlink our universal audio clip for now. And I'm going to just highlight the audio clips, okay, because we're just going to take the audio for our Pro Tools AIF, okay? So I'm going to just come right in here and I'm going to highlight just our audio, okay? And I'm going to go to Export, AAF, and this dialog box comes up. And what you want to do is make sure that Enable is checked. Most film and video, you're working in 48 kilohertz, so that's 48,000, and you don't need to change that. If you're going to go to a CD at some point with your audio, if you've been doing that, you need to make this 16. But if you leave it at 24, that gives you a little bit more dynamic range when you go into Pro Tools. We're going to embed our audio. And the other choice you have there is separate audio. And if you use separate audio, then when you get into Pro Tools, you have to bring the audio files in to your folder and make sure that everything is linked up. Whereas if you embed the audio, everything comes over automatically. And on small projects, it's much easier to embed your audio. You can use .wav or AIFF files. I'm using WAV files. And here is another thing that you have a choice on. You can copy your complete audio files to go with you with your AAF file, or you can trim your audio files. If you choose to trim your audio files, you would set up a handle here. You would say you wanted 10 frames on each side of the clip, or 13 frames, or 30. But then when you get over to Pro Tools, if you've set it up to have, say, 10 frames extra on the sides of your clips here in your edited tracks, and you decide over in Pro Tools that you need 20 frames, if you've trimmed your audio files, you don't have 20 frames because you've only given it 10. So it's always better, if you can, to copy your complete audio files. So we're going to say OK. It's going to say, where do you want to save this? I'm going to save it to the Pro Tools, the folder that I'm taking over to Pro Tools. So I'm going to say save. And now it will, Premiere will be kind of simplifying the shots and copying things and getting them ready to take over. So with that, you have exported a QuickTime movie. You've exported your AAF file with your sound files to go, and you'll be able to take this into Pro Tools and set up your session to work over there. So that should do it for this session, and we'll see you soon.